I talked briefly about how to migrate from the standalone OpenLineage Airflow package to the Airflow OpenLineage provider one. I start with giving some reasons why we wanted to become an Airflow provider. So we wanted to make sure that the metadata that we collect and emit in Airflow is not breaking Airflow itself. This was well, I think Maciej Buchowski was speaking about it in some of the previous sessions. Sorry. But there were several places where each Airflow version changed something, and we just couldn't keep up on this. This required us some spaghetti code or some weird logic. This was the same for Airflow provider. Here you can see one of the methods that we have to get hook from, I think, Snowflake operator, where we needed to check whether it's get DB hook or get hook. So now when we are part of Airflow code, we don't need to do that. We are just a part of unit tests and some other tests that make sure that what we currently have as OpenLineage part of providers is working, and we actually have the same code base as others. The other thing is that not only we keep the latest code up to date with all the providers, but we also become part of these providers of the operators. So we can include the whole logic inside operator on hook. And that's important for us because well, we can let other contributors do the job when adding OpenLineage support directly in the Airflow repository. And also it's a huge step for us because it gives us some visibility. So Airflow can be somehow advertised that it uses OpenLineage. Well, it looks like people are really interested in that. So it might work actually. So there were a couple of changes that were introduced in the provider package. So starting from August this year, there was released first version. Now it's 1.1.0. And what's important is that it's compatible with Airflow 2.7 plus. The reason is that there were some changes in the code that make sure that we are fully compatible with core Airflow, which means that we can resolve mapped task. We can work with async operators as well. And what was actually, for me, the most important reason is that we don't intercept SQL Alchemy sessions. At the moment, we don't need it. We are just in the middle of tasks execution and DAX scheduling. So we don't break any SQL related sessions that might stop Airflow from working, especially Airflow worker. There were a couple of changes in current get OpenLineage facets on something. So previously we had a concept of default extractor, which is actually still in the provider one, but we added failure as another method that you can provide. So you can define what kind of metadata is emitted when the task is failing. And additionally, this is something that we've been missing previously, so you can configure the package through the main Airflow config file or through the Airflow specific environment variables. I'll be talking about this later too. So the main question is how to migrate. The easiest one is that you just need to do the pip install for the specific package. Of course, you can choose which version if you need it. And also, you don't actually need to uninstall the OpenLineage Airflow package because it's getting disabled when it detects that the provider package is installed and enabled. But sometimes you shouldn't be uninstalling the previous one package, and I talk about it a bit later too. But the simplest way is to just do the pip install, which I will show you in the demo. So one of the things that we would like to kind of walk away from is custom extractors. This was an idea to give people some possibility to develop new logic for operators that they don't have control over its code or want to override something that already exists. So there was and still is a possibility to write a custom extractor that was controlled by the OpenLineage extractor's environment variable. And it's still working in the OpenLineage provider. You can also configure it from the Airflow configuration file as well. And this is the same as previously. So when you define and say what custom extractor is responsible for which class in Airflow or operator, it takes precedence over what's possibly included in current implementation of the operator. So it's the same. And as I mentioned, there is a default extractor that looks for get OpenLineage facets on something, on something methods, and if they exist on the operator, in the operator class, it tries to run them. So the concept is the same, and actually the provider package is also using default extractor. So this is not a big of change. The only thing is that previously, obviously, you needed to define some operator lineage construct. This is actually data class that defines inputs, outputs, run and job facets. And this is automatically translated to the provider one class. So you don't need to worry that if you have implemented some get OpenLineage facets method previously that's based on the old module and class, you do not need to worry about it because this is translated. But obviously, if you uninstall OpenLineage Airflow, you will fail to import the old class. So in this case, if you uninstall it, you need to change the import path. Also, there are changes introduced in configuration. So there is a whole section called OpenLineage in Airflow config. Many of features that were previously available in OpenLineage Airflow package is also compatible with the provider. So especially, I think that people usually use like OpenLineage URL. This is pretty common and still works, so you don't need to add anything to the Airflow config. It still works. But we also added some entries in the OpenLineage section, which take precedence over what's been previously handled by environment variables. So here are some examples. It's pretty straightforward. The logic for like config takes precedence over OpenLineage URL. It's still the same. I wouldn't like to explain this here. It's all in the docs. But that's just some examples of how it works right now. Well, I can refer to docs when you can find the reference for configuration. Just a quick mention how to add some new integration in the Airflow provider, or maybe not even in the Airflow provider, but in other providers that make use of Airflow OpenLineage provider. So first thing is that we wanted to give up on using OpenLineage common dataset module. We want to, well, deprecate it soon, maybe not soon, but in some time in the future, and use just the classes from the OpenLineage Python, OpenLineage Python client. So example is the dataset, facet, and some other that are used like to specify schema, for example. And some quick advice is that, well, this is, for example, I think BigQuery is a job operator. So previously, when we didn't have any control or influence on how to grab some information from execution of the operator, we needed to read the code and see that maybe job ID is returned as an XCOM, for example. I think this was the case. And now when we added the integration in the BigQuery operator itself, we can just change the code so it saves the job ID as an attribute. So we get the information without making many workarounds that are pretty messy and usually might not work for some reasons. Here we have best way ever to grab the data needed to extract something. And I'd like to give a quick demo of how it works. Just give me a second. So as a starter, I'm using Breeze, which is a mostly development environment and CLI for Airflow. This is pretty common option that people use. It's also used in the CI to prepare some provider packages, Airflow packages, etc. But I'm using it to develop and show how it works. So I'm using Airflow version 2.7.1, and I'm also using integration OpenLineage, which instantiates Marquez. Also, that's an option that we have in Airflow. And the only package that I'm using is Postgres, because I'll be using Postgres provider. So let me instantiate the environment. And also, I have one environment variable, which is OpenLineage URL. This is pointing to the Marquez that I have local. And just let's wait a minute. So right now I don't have any OpenLineage related package installed. Well, right now it's installing, so I don't have anything. So let's just wait a second. Okay, so here is the Marquez. It's empty because obviously there is nothing. And let's check. Okay, it should work in a minute. Superstring password. So for example, I think I don't need to run Postgres, but actually I don't have, just to prove, I don't have any typo. I do have actually, but without OpenLineage Airflow. I don't know why it's installed. But I run OpenLineage Airflow, which is the old package. I just need to restart things. Okay, it's working. So now I'm running some example that uses Focus as backend. And here we see that it's working, like the old OpenLineage Airflow is working. So now I run a command to install provider package as well. Let me restart everything again. So as I said previously, there is nothing to configure more if you have like OpenLineage URL, for example, here. And let me go to this one. I enable the second DAC here. So it's running. It should run. Okay. Well, it didn't work. I don't know. It should work. That's the beauty of demo live. All right. Sorry, I changed the namespace. So this is, well, sorry, this is development, but like the namespace change is the only one because I haven't, I experimented with something, I forgot about it. But eventually the events came to Marcus. We have it here. So this is how it looks like for this one. So I did not make any change here in Airflow, and I also can uninstall the previous one and run it again. So now if I trigger this, it should end soon. Okay, so when I go here and check the run history, it's 3 of them because I ran this 3 times here. So this is a quick demo, like for 3 options that you can have: the old package, both packages installed, and when we uninstall the old one and we just keep the provider one, it all works the same. Forget about the namespace, it's just my fault here, but basically it's all the same. Yeah, so that's it.
Thank you. Any question about the migration from the old OpenLineage Airflow integration into the new Airflow provider OpenLineage, which is now built in Airflow?